Good morning or afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us today. Uh, we know your time is so valuable, as I was mentioning, and especially as many of you are responding to the ongoing challenges, the devastating wildfires in LA, winter storms happening across many states, and other emergencies impacting our communities. So, to all of you who are on the front lines or supporting response efforts, we want to just acknowledge and deeply appreciate your dedication. So, thank you so much. As I'm coming on in, seeing more people join us. Thank you for coming on in. You know, Beyond just the challenges with our day-to-day jobs and roles, we're also navigating a time of great uncertainty. Disasters are becoming more severe. We're seeing shifts in how risks are managed, from insurance companies to, pulling back their coverage to concerns about how this new administration is shifting responsibility and what their plans will do to affect our roles in response. So these changes bring real concerns about the possibility of more people falling through the cracks when it comes to disaster response and resilience. And we're going to be feeling that on the local level. So now more than ever, it is essential that emergency authorities empower their communities with a way to foster resilience, a new kind of civil defense for this new era. That's why we're here today to explore innovative solutions that can help all of us meet these challenges head on and make our communities stronger and more prepared. And we're so excited to hear from you. So we'll have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, but please feel free to drop your questions in the chat as they come up. We'll make sure to address as many as we can. So kicking us off, getting us started, please introduce yourself in the chat. Everyone on this call is passionate about boosting community resilience and eager to connect with others who share the same mission. So before we dive into the agenda, I want to take a moment to introduce the amazing team that we have here today. First, we have Mr. Brian Winter, HazAdapt's Emergency Management Specialist, who will be presenting alongside me. Brian brings a wealth of emergency management background and experience and will help us dive into the challenges that emergency managers are facing today as they engage the public. Next, we have Mr. Parker Twiss, another awesome emergency management strategist on the team. He's also an emergency manager, but today he's going to be the man behind the curtain who's making sure everything runs smoothly. And he'll be in the chat answering and saving your questions as they come up. And finally, we are so thrilled to have our special guest, Mr. Mike Bamberger, Emergency Preparedness Manager at Oregon State University. Mike will be sharing insights about the successful partnership between OSU and HazAdapt and how it transformed campus safety and resilience. It is such a privilege to have this incredible team with us today, and we are so excited to share this time with all of you. Now, let's go ahead and let's talk about what we're doing today. Slide me, Parker. All right. So main thing, we're going to be talking about challenges connecting with the public. So what are these common challenges that we're facing in both digital and in-person outreach efforts? Two, we're going to talk about connecting with the public through HazAdapt. So we'll explore how the HazAdapt Community Resilience System was designed with you in mind to address challenges and to boost community engagement. And then HazAdapt in action. We're excited to welcome Mike up to the stage, and he's going to be talking about those insights from OSU and our partnership and how it supercharged public safety and resilience on campus. And then we'll wrap it up with how you can use HazAdapt in your community today. Immediate insights and resilience boosting tips that you can start to use right away. And of course, we'll end with our Q&A session, so be sure to add your questions to the chat as we go along. Okay, so with that, go ahead and slide me on over. Let's get started by exploring some of the challenges that emergency managers face when they're connecting with the public. So now this might be a very familiar scene to many of you, right? You're presenting a PowerPoint to a group of community members, often in whatever location you can find. This is a photo that shows one of our local emergency managers, Brian, during a co-hosted emergency preparedness event called Let's Taco About Earthquakes. Everyone loves tacos, and it was very well attended. But if you look at this picture, you can tell that we were doing this in a barn in rural Oregon. And it really is just proof that creativity and adaptability are going to be so key and often a very large part of this job. And this really leads us to an important question. How can we reach more people more effectively and in ways that truly resonate with diverse communities? And I'm going to hand the mic now to Brian to dig into some of those challenges. Take it away.
Thanks, Jenny. Hi, everyone. I'm going to kick us off here today. My name is Brian Winter, not to be confused with the Brian from the previous slide. But as shown on this slide here, I've been working in the federal EM space for about 8 years now, both in the public sphere as well as in the private sector. So in these roles, like many of you, I've worn a lot of hats, right? I've led planning and exercise teams. I've developed organizational plans and SOPs. I've supported response for national emergencies such as COVID-19. And I've also worked on all kinds of public outreach efforts, everything from training to fairs, emails, newsletters, handouts, what have you. All this is to say that I've served in many different positions within an EM office. So I understand many of the needs, constraints, and gaps you all overcome every day. I started with HazAdapt about 6 months ago, and I'm very excited to take part in this webinar today and help identify some of these common challenges we all face with engaging our communities. Next slide, please. All right, so I would like to discuss some of these major roadblocks that I and some of my colleagues have encountered when it comes to public safety outreach, right? So starting with alert limitations. We've all been shackled by the limits of alert systems, regardless of the platform, right? It could be Data Miner, Everbridge, standard email alerts, what have you. We also know that even the best of messages can be misunderstood or taken out of context. And timely information. During emergencies, people need lots of information and fast. So how can we get that to them at the point of need when they need it? Okay, and so our return on investment for preparedness. How do we really know if our outreach makes an impact, right? Did our community respond to the message the way that we hoped they would? Did they take the proper steps? And of course, the limits to outreach. As we all know, emergency managers and other public safety staff wear a lot of hats, right? And there's only so much time and attention that can be paid to outreach without cutting into other things like planning, training, operations, administration, budgets, or any of the other hundreds of priorities that pop up every day. And then, of course, our obstacles to accessibility, right? How many different populations make up your community? How many of those might be vulnerable or have unique physical, cultural, or other barriers that might impact your outreach efforts? Hearing limited, sight limited, elderly, financial constraints, or 1,000 other factors that can impact your community's preparedness efforts. Right? And then, how do we assess those concerns from the community? How do we know what the community is concerned about? How do they speak to us about the issues impacting them before, during, and after disasters? Next slide, please. And we're not done yet, right? So moving right along, application and website maintenance. So how many of us out there are qualified website designers, right? How often do we need to update and add on to our hazard guidance or changes to policies and procedures, contact rosters, or any of the other information we make available to our communities? I know that this right here often took up a significant amount of almost each day. Right. And then, how do we speak to our leadership? How do we communicate to the bosses and bean counters the impact of our outreach efforts, right? Training rosters and in-person and online surveys can really only provide so much useful data. Right, and then, this one's near and dear to my heart, the impact of our training, right? Training is huge. Wouldn't it be nice to know how our training is received by the communities we serve and be able to display how deep our efforts have reached within the community? Right, and then, what does the community do with the information we give them, right? How do they engage with that? How do we know what the public does with the materials kind of once we hand them over into the ether, right? How can we be sure that they've received the information, in a way that we hope that they would? And then, finally, I'll say that we're going to have limited reach with current channels, right? And so in addition to emails and training, I don't know about all of you, but I personally have no desire to become a social media influencer, making TikTok dances or constantly posting and updating on different platforms, even though that's often one of the most effective ways to reach our audiences. Right, so between the last slide and this slide, we've identified a lot of things to think about on how we engage with our communities. Next slide, please. Right, and so as we've seen, there are a lot of potential concerns regarding these public outreach efforts and their impacts within our EM world. With that in mind, and with everything we just discussed, I'd like to present the poll to all of you to see which of these are going to be of the highest concern to you. So Parker, I'm going to turn it over to you for how we're going to conduct our poll.
Thank you very much. All right, so if everyone could just put their either just the single letter or want to type out the maybe top 1 through 3 challenges that you're finding in your area. Had a nice fancy Zoom poll set up, but as per with every webinar, there's going to be a glitch. So that was ours for today. So if everyone could just, if you want to be able to just put in your top challenges that you're facing, and then we can address those as we move forward.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Parker, for starting that poll. And I'm going to be here kind of watching the chat just a bit to see if we can identify what some of the challenges are. I see a J already, so that's the impact of training, knowing, how our efforts to help prepare the public are really supporting them to take that on their own. Yeah, excellent. And, please feel free to keep adding those different challenges in the chat. This is so helpful for us to also make sure, we're addressing those needs. And that's our goal right now, is to talk about what some of those challenges are. I and F, absolutely, speaking to leadership and knowing, how we can really support them understanding the work that we do as we're doing outreach to the public. Absolutely. Limited outreach, with current channels. Excellent. Accessibility, yes. Timely information, of course, yes. Yeah, these are really great responses, and I can see F is quite a common theme, accessing community concerns. How do we know what the community is concerned about? Absolutely. Seeing quite a few L's, yeah. Well, thank you everybody for responding to that and continuing to add your challenges to the chat. And Brian, thank you for walking us through that. This brings us to HazAdapt, the community resilience system designed with you in mind. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So go ahead and slide me in, Parker. As someone with a background in public health and disaster management, I've spent my career at the intersection of research and resilience and practice, looking for innovative ways to help communities thrive in the face of hazards. So HazAdapt was born out of that mission, combining academic research, hands-on experience, and input from emergency professionals like you to create a system that makes it easier to connect with the public and empower them, with the tools that they need. So as we move into the next part of our presentation, I want to take a moment and invite you to reconnect with your own experiences, not as an emergency manager or an emergency authority, but as a member of the public. So think about those moments when you take the uniform off and you step into parent mode, neighbor mode, or simply community member mode. Yeah, these are the same feelings your audience is bringing to the table when you're engaging with them. They're not looking for the perfectly polished, all-knowing expert. They're looking for someone who understands their challenges and genuinely cares about helping them and navigate with their uncertainties. So it is really important that we remember that, because for many people, emergency authorities can seem intimidating. Sometimes we can be a little scary showing up in our uniform for official meetings, and we have got the best intentions, and we can still come across as distant and unapproachable. But the truth is, communities want to see you as one of them, as approachable, trustworthy, and authority that they can turn to in a time of need. So as you begin your outreach, I want to encourage you, put your member of the public hat back on. Step into that mindset of care and empathy for people who may not know what to do or feel overwhelmed by the challenges ahead. This is the exact mindset that we use to build HazAdapt to support, a tool designed to help meet your community's needs where they are at, connecting with them authentically and empowering them to take the next steps towards resilience. Slide. So with that in mind, let's dive into HazAdapt and let's demo it, let's talk about it, and see how it can help you bridge those connections and empower your communities. Okay, so we're gonna get hands-on, and in this slide, you're gonna see a little QR code. If you haven't already, go ahead and download HazAdapt, or you can check out our web app. We're gonna drop that link in the chat. You can simply scan the code, or if preferred, join us there on the web version. And I'm gonna walk you through a live demo, share my screen, of HazAdapt, and I'm gonna highlight how it works and why it's an essential tool for community resilience. So bear with me a second. Okay. It's going to get that going here in just a second. Great. Okay. Can everybody see HazAdapt? Sweet. All right. Well, welcome to HazAdapt, everyone. This is your friendly hazard helper in your hand. And what you might first notice is that this is an app made to be used for minds under extreme stress and for low-tech users like grandma. So let me show you where you're probably going to be hanging out most of the time, and that is in our hazard guide. So this is a mega library of information and resources for many different natural and man-made hazards. And it is all meant to be accessible and customizable to your community's needs. So let's go ahead and let's jump on in a guide. One of our most popular ones lately has been Active Shooter. It's always one of our traditional ones that's very popular. So I'm just going to jump in there. And what you're going to see is immediately we come into the emergency information. So if someone very likely using HazAdapt is experiencing an emergency, the first thing they're going to get connected to is that critical safety information. So this helps them know what to do written in actionable steps that is easy to read and easy to scan. And you can further customize this information to be, for kids, accessible for your different disability needs. And if you are in that emergency moment and deciding, yes, I need critical help, we offer crisis support options. And these are contacts in the web app, or in the app. You'll notice that there is a call 911 and you have your direct location coordinates there for easy sending. But what you'll see is a huge Rolodex of local and national crisis response options that help people know, what is this, who can use this, when is it available, and gets them directly connected to it. So it really is that just-in-time resource to help people, survive whatever and adapt to what they're going through. But truly, with all of our content, our main goal is to really help people get prepared, right? And to take that into their own hands. So besides all of our response and recovery content, we offer preparation content and these really incredible things called prep checks. So a prep check is a fun little preparedness tool that is going to check your knowledge. So first question here, it's 3 questions. What do you know what to do in the event of this hazard? Place these actions in order of before, during, and after. So I'm just going to see if someone is shot there. Yeah, run and escape area. I'm just going to add a couple of them in here and seeing what the score is. But I do recommend go and play with these. They're quite fun and see, what your coping capacity is like. So question 2, what safety supplies do you have around you that could help you in the event of this hazard? And you'll start to see as you do more prep checks, you start to create a list and continue to add to that list. And we'll provide what you've got and what you don't have list so that as you think about your inventory, you know what you might still need to get. And then finally, who do you feel most comfortable calling in the event of this hazard? And what we're really asking here is for people to think critically about, if I was in this situation, who would I actually call, whether that's in the moment or afterward? And what we're really trying to see is how many people, are in your support crew, in your support network, and where does 911 fall into that? Is it first? Is it there at all? Is it second? This is helpful for us to really understand how the community would interact with official response. Okay, and that's it. We've just done our first prep check. We can see that I am a novice preparedness, you can tell by many of my answers, but we can really get a deeper insight on why I got that score. So my actions are low, got some items, but also my contacts are low. And we're going to give people that readout of here's exactly what you can do to boost your coping capacity and resilience, and get a little refresher on that information on what to do. What's really spectacular, though, about our hazard guide is that we also offer local safety information. And we're going to talk about this in just a second. But I highly recommend check it out in whatever state that you're in. We have full coverage across the US, connecting people to different assets and resources in every state. Very happy about that. Okay. So I'm going to wrap up this demo right here, and we're going to go ahead and jump into that next slide, Parker, if you don't mind. Right. So I want to highlight HazAdapt's most powerful features, though. This is a shareable hazard help on your hand. So this tool combines that customizable life-saving resource and personal preparedness tools that are easy for both you and your community to use. So, but what makes this really unique is that we've designed it to be super easy to share through tiny links. So these are 25 character and less tiny links that you can add to your alerts, your emails, your outreach materials. And by sharing, a tiny link, you're giving your community an entire hazard guide and resource hub tailored to that specific hazard that they're facing. And here's the best part. It really works seamlessly with every alert system and every messaging and output system you have. Whether or not, HazAdapt is downloaded on that person's phone, when they get that link, they'll either be taken directly to the app if they've got it, or they'll be taken to the web version. So it is there when they need it, as they need it, as they have access to it. So this flexibility ensures that you can meet your community where they're at and empower them to take immediate action and build resilience. Barriers, no extra steps. This is about making life-saving information easy to access, easy to share, and incredibly impactful. All right, let's go ahead and just slide on over. So now you've seen HazAdapt, let's take a closer look at why people use it and what makes it such a valuable tool for both emergency authorities and communities you serve. Our customizable safety resources include 50 plus hazard guides that are easy to understand, written to a third to eighth grade reading level. And that is both for, one, different literacy levels, but also our brains don't think the same and comprehend the same when we're in emergency. So we want to keep it super easy and actionable, directly connecting people to crisis support contacts, resources that work offline. HazAdapt, the app, once you download it, it is all available for you offline. And it's all action oriented. So very similar to calling 911. What do I do right now? What are the steps I take? Our guides are available in 7 languages, more translations are coming, and we make it easier to engage a diverse community through that and through all of our customizabilities. So all of the information in HazAdapt is official, expert vetted, and tailored to meet all levels of preparedness, from beginners and the gentle public, which is a term that we, call our general populations, all the way to seasoned planners, right? This is a resource everyone can use. And everyone can customize, whether they've got kids, they've got older adults, people with disabilities, pets, farm animals, and even wildlife. You can customize this information to your need in real time. This ensures no one's left out and everyone can feel confident and prepared. And as we touched on earlier, our prep checks are action-based tools designed to boost preparedness knowledge, identify assets, and strengthen your support networks. So these features are designed to make preparedness and resilience easier, more accessible, and more inclusive than ever before. They're not just tools, they're solutions tailored to the challenges that we're all facing today. Slide. So here's the fun part. I want to share, and we're going to share, how to HazAdapt with your community. And in this very first phase of HazAdapt, the approach is simple, but quite impactful. Just share HazAdapt with your community. It's a 100% free resource that you can incorporate in your outreach efforts and alerts. And we took great effort to design this to be easy for you to share, but easy for them to share too. And not just, an easy resource to keep in your pocket, but for daily or regular preparation activity. And making sure that they have access to trusted, actionable resources right at their fingertips. So to make this even easier, we provide a no-cost outreach materials whole hub on our website, posters, stickers, social media graphics, ready-to-use QR codes. Our goal is really to give you everything that you need to seamlessly include HazAdapt in your preparedness or outreach events. Whether you're hosting a fair, tabling at a community event, or doing a presentation in a barn, HazAdapt and sending alerts, HazAdapt can be one of those free resources in your toolbox, empowering your community to take the next steps towards resilience. And we're here to support you so that adding HazAdapt to your resource in your outreach is as simple as a grab and go. Let's talk about the next phase. So in this second phase, we're talking about taking preparedness even further by adding your local safety information to HazAdapt through our local safety information service. So this is a service that allows emergency authorities to make a bigger impact by putting your critical safety resources where your community is actually looking, in their hands, on their phone, and when ready to use when they need it the most. So not only does this help people get prepared, but it also makes your safety information more accessible to visitors and new residents that are entering your jurisdiction. Anytime anybody enters your area and has access to HazAdapt, it will automatically be uploaded and updated with your critical safety information. So this ensures everyone, whether they're lifelong residents or just passing through, has access to the resources they need. So with this service, you're creating a seamless way to connect your community with vital information, and you're meeting them where they're at and helping them stay safe and resilient. Which brings us to the third phase. So in this third phase, this is more of the long-term iteration, right? Our core improvement, our goal as emergency authorities to make our service tailored to the community that we serve. And this is really where HazAdapt revolutionizes emergency management. We're able to track engagement and improve programs through our engagement and an analytics dashboard. So this is provided as part of our local safety information service, and it gives you detailed insights on how your community is interacting with that safety information that you have on HazAdapt and what they're looking at engaging with. So this is the game changer for emergency managers by providing real-time data on what's working, what's being used, and where the adjustments can be made to improve preparedness and response. This is a revolutionary opportunity to see real-time impacts of your outreach and those efforts that you've done, and seeing those insights on how you can refine and strengthen your programs. And we've seen this happen, seen it proven in action during our pilot with Oregon State University, where HazAdapt and the local safety information had a significant impact on campus safety and resilience. Slide. So to share more about this really incredible success story, it is my absolute honor to introduce our special guest, Mr. Mike Bamberger, the Emergency Preparedness Manager at Oregon State University. Mike has been a key partner in this pilot, and he's going to share firsthand how HazAdapt transformed public safety on campus. So please join me in welcoming Mike Bamberger.
Thank you, Jenny. Next slide, please. So you can see on this slide that these are the challenges that probably everyone on this webinar at some level has experience with. We at OSU, we have a high turnover population. It also practices just-in-time attention to the things that are happening around them. So the base population here has various educational knowledge backgrounds. Some are absorbing and learning. They're just coming as new students, getting that new information, while others are researching and creating the information that eventually is going to become mainstream, standardized, and be taught to incoming students. So I've got the whole gambit here. And this is how I got to know Jenny and HazAdapt. Her studies and her interest as a student at OSU brought her on my door, and she heard my needs as was looking for, as are on this slide. So we started our collaboration to see what we could do about it. Next slide, please. We started looking at what was important for emergency management and public safety on daily interaction. Could we use HazAdapt for emergency management needs as well as daily use needs, not just the big once in a school semester disaster, but on little things. So we identified these three areas to initially focus and test to see if we could use HazAdapt to make a difference. We used the general information that's available for free, you saw in phase 1, and also added the campus-specific procedures that became accessible when they geolocated onto campus to phase 2. And my vulnerability analysis, plus feedback from the campus community, we identified active shooter as one of our top 5 topics. It's a topic of concern and discussion. Almost every interaction we have, active threat, active shooter always comes up. So that was kind of my big picture concern that everybody identified. But we have more finite daily problem with bike theft on campus. This was a metric that our public safety department was tracking and keeping track of the trends as an increase of daily calls of stolen bikes. And that trend was increasing. You can see in the video that's playing is how we took our web-based campus safety content and added to HazAdapt so it's available to augment the generic plans. And that's the part that comes activated with geocoding. So it's synchronized across the plan to desktop to web app. This macro and micro level view is what we focused on our first year of use. And we got some really good feedback from that. So next slide, please. My daily approach is a passive, low-tech, repetitive engagement. And I wanted the information available wherever somebody looked. I wanted it in my signature block. I wanted it on the posters we sent out. Wanted it on the alerts we sent out. So passive, low-tech, repetitive. Because I knew people weren't going to pay attention until an incident piqued their interest, and they had to have or wanted to have or needed to have access to the information. So with this information out there, it was ready. We used the HazAdapt tiny link or the tiny URL that's at each of the HazAdapt pages. We put that link on our campus alert messages. That way, when we issued an alert, there was also resources the users could click on and go there for their interest, for just-in-time education to enhance their response to the alert. I didn't have to fish through different files on my computer to find the right one, paste it in there, and off we go. I can just add this link, which is really key for us because as we're trying to get the message out quickly during an incident, I want to go as fast as possible. So that link is really sped up and made our alert messages reliable. Jenny's team also provided the engagement support kit that you see there to help develop the active approach. I worked with interns in our program to work this engagement and outreach toolkit and develop a social media campaign and preparedness posters. We distribute these preparedness posters to increased awareness on various emergency management topics. They go out bi-weekly, every 2 weeks. And we're preparing for a social media campaign, hopefully at the end of this winter semester with our current intern. So now we're taking it from the passive, there when you want it, to active, where it's more repetitive and people become to rely on it and they'll know to get the resources. So let's go to next slide, please. So HazAdapt's engagement dashboard has really helped emergency management here at OSU see the direct engagement views, the clicks, the hovers, even the language uses of the trends. I can correlate the increase in this participation through the just-in-time messaging link, the tiny link that will be included in alert messages, or after an in-person presentation. It's really measurable through this tool of HazAdapt. The feedback helps me go to my leadership and show the impact of my program. That by using HazAdapt, we're able to see the difference in our community. We see what we suspected, and it's just-in-time information is what people's learning for. And from there, hopefully with the prep text and repetitive use, we're going to get that lifetime learning. But right now, the statistics are showing we give a presentation, we see a spike. We have an incident, we see a spike. The middle graph there, the disruptive guide on campus, that's our most engaged topic on campus, our safety resources. We see the consistent spike after our presentations. In May alone, we saw 87 total direct engagements with the guide, which corresponded with the amount of presentations we gave. The active shooter guide is always on people's mind. It's our #1 trending guide for 23 to 24. And the spikes, again, will also show after current events happening throughout the nation. So we know people are where they have that HazAdapt, and they're going out and finding information. Again, just-in-time awareness. And finally, the robbery and theft guide. These spikes will increase with the increase of campus theft activity, the alert bulletins we put out. We see in September, big spike in interest because of the posters we have right at the bike racks as the new students move in. We can definitely show the consumer or the public's interest. Slide 20, next slide, please. So this is a different way of looking at proof that HazAdapt is being used. The OSU efforts of outreach is in the orange. That's a number of activities, the number of people at our classes, while the number of clicked links and hovers is in the blue. So as you can see, we're continually reaching people throughout the year with a HazAdapt. Our in-person is tied to semesters. We're on 10-week terms, then we got breaks, and you can see our spikes of presentations. We have the continual background use of HazAdapt throughout the year. And I use this in a quarterly metric report of my emergency management program that I give to senior leadership to show the results of what we're doing. And the results also have helped me focus my engagement efforts. We have found that posting a sandwich board, like you see at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, at a football game, had no increase in spikes, downloads, or anything else. All it did was get me and Jenny wet while we stood by the sign. But posting the bike theft signs at the bike storage areas showed that measurable interaction. HazAdapt provides this data, and we can see where the guides were accessed, downloaded, and our statistics have started to decrease or plateau from the number of theft of bikes. So there's a correlation that we can measure, take back to senior leadership and say, yes, this is worth the investment that we're doing, and it's making a difference on campus.
Absolutely. And these results are absolutely phenomenal. And first, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that Mike is an above average outreach baller. In just 1 year, he led over 33 events and had direct engagement with over 534 people through different trainings and in-person outreach events. So if Mike wasn't responding to an event, he was doing trainings and he was out there on the streets and on campus, connecting and building relationship with the community. And it's really this type of consistent boots on the ground engagement that is no small feat, but it truly is the backbone of community resilience and preparedness. So, Mike's efforts are truly exceptional. He definitely went above and beyond. Normally for a jurisdiction between 50,000 to 200,000, we're usually seeing around 20 to 30 engagement events a year. And he had 33, so definitely went above and beyond. That's an incredible amount of time, work, and human connection, which is so essential. So, Mike, thank you first for your dedication and your incredible outreach that you delivered. But y'all know the deal. Even with all this hard work, there's always going to be ebbs and flows with our outreach efforts. Emergencies happen, schedules shift, and sometimes the ability to engage in person is limited. So what's encouraging about what HazAdapt does is that it steps in to fill those gaps and extends the outreach of Mike's efforts. So beyond the 534 people that he directly engaged in trainings in person, an additional 753 people were directly engaged with OSU's safety information through HazAdapt that year. And that's, those numbers are, both viewing the content, interacting with it, scanning in to see those guides, all sorts of incredible engagement. So this means that, HazAdapt didn't just support Mike's work, it extended his direct engagement by 150%. This is what makes HazAdapt so powerful, ensuring critical information continues to reach your community even when you can't be everywhere at once. But one of the most important things that emergency managers do is alert their community. And this is where HazAdapt truly blew our minds. Next slide. So when HazAdapt was integrated into alerts via tiny links or supplementary information, we saw an extraordinary trend of alerts to action. So we saw this multiple times, and we're going to highlight a couple case studies. During last year's winter storms, and it was a multiple day event, right? Mike is sending out alerts and updates on is campus going to open. And what we would see with every alert, people would access the extreme cold guide. That was what was linked in that alert. But then they would also go to other related guides. So they'd check out car accident, they'd check out power outage, and sometimes other unrelated hazards like, or not going to say assault. Assault kind of can be related. We know that, staying indoors has higher domestic violence issues. But other unrelated ones that did get access were things like cicada brood or active shooters. So it was really, truly incredible to see people take that additional action through their empowerment to keep learning, just because it was accessible and convenient. And beyond just viewing guides, we saw people take and do prep checks. So they'd answer those 3 questions, and the people would often do multiple at a time. And combined, viewing the guides and doing prep checks, we were seeing people take sometimes, 10 plus steps after getting that alert to, boost their resilience. And what was amazing to see is that they were mostly taking these steps within the hour after the alert. So send an alert and we're seeing immediate action that is, empowered through that access. This is the first time ever that in emergency management, we've been really able to see this type of action post alert in real time. So that is incredible. And this isn't just the future of emergency management, it's happening now. So imagine the power of understanding how your community could engage with your safety information.
Right. We saw this, and not just the active threat of winter storms. So even during exercises, the Great Shakeout in October, we had the tiny links and references and every week building up for 3 weeks. And then the day of the exercise, the alert I sent out had the tiny link in it. And you can see the number of clicks of just-in-time use again, all just for the Great Shakeout, a known event, which also we had some tsunami education in there. And then the December 2024 West Coast tsunami, we had a 7.0 magnitude earthquake off the northern California coast. Tsunami warnings came up and down the coast, and we saw several interactions with the tsunami resource guide and prep checks at that point. It was 0 to 100 to go, and people had HazAdapt. They used it. Our coastal people evacuated, so they're looking for other resources once they got to a safe spot, I imagine. But definitely measurable that when the event's there, they know they've got HazAdapt to draw upon, and they're using it. Before then, I don't know how much they paid attention, but once something happened, we had their attention. That resource was there. I didn't have to push out anything exceptional other than that tiny link. In fact, we didn't push out an alert because by the time it happened, we got word they were already evacuated. And then the all clear came out also a little bit after that. So they just did this on their own with no prompting. So we're actually starting to see the traction, memory, and use of HazAdapt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is a truly phenomenal result. And, one thing that we really want to just have you take away with, if there's nothing else, this idea that a simple link can really boost immediate resilience action in your community. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Mike. Go ahead and slide me. Okay. So this is something that, we're so excited to share with you. And we wanted to offer a quick list of the values that HazAdapt brings, because we know that you're digesting all this information and you're going to be talking about it either with your team or, your leadership, with your community. So take a screenshot of this or, hang out and wait for the slides. We're going to be sending those out, to you there. But beyond just enhancing your alerts, enhancing your training, connecting your community, and empowering them with resources so that they can take action and impetus on their side. Tons of incredible things, now and more coming. So as we're, moving forward and trying to figure out what's happening with different administrations and insurance company, changes and coverage changes, this is a resource that continues to provide value for you and for your community. Next slide. And what's great is it's going to keep getting better. So there is something new and groundbreaking coming soon at HazAdapt. It's called Resilience Point. And I'm not going to go into a ton of detail here. It's just a little teaser. But what this is this is the emergency management portal for engagement with your community on HazAdapt. And this is going to help you connect more deeply with the hazard interaction, all that coping capacity information and data that's, all of those prep checks being analyzed and how ready is your community for different hazards. And stay tuned because this is going to be a phenomenal platform and we are so excited to show you what this can do. So coming very soon. Go ahead and slide on over. So this is going to be, a quick wrap up of our services. There's so much that HazAdapt does 100% free for you and for your community. It's 100% always will be free for the community. We invite you to check out our local safety information service and see how you can level up your community's preparedness and your visitors' preparedness as they come into your community. And for anybody interested in Resilience Point as a new platform, we are so excited to offer this as a free add-on for our first touch and first testing communities. So if you're interested in that, please let us know. But so many really incredible things that are coming down the pipeline. And what's great is we want to continue to innovate with you. So if you've got ideas or inspiration, let us know. Let's work together. Okay. Slide on over. Last but not least, we want to just send a huge thank you to our partners and our first authority users. We have worked hand in hand with really incredible local emergency managers like Mike, medical professionals, first responders since the beginning. And it's truly one of the main ingredients of our secret sauce and one of the reasons why HazAdapt has become the most amazing resource that it has. So thank you so much for joining us today. And in this final slide, before we move to the Q&A, I just want to leave you with 3 simple actions you can take right now to make a difference in your community. First, add HazAdapt to your toolbox. Put it on your website, bookmark it. I definitely recommend bookmarking it. And keep it on standby. Check out those outreach resources on our website. And next time you have to send an alert, boost it. Add a HazAdapt tiny link to your alert and connect people directly to that guide and resource of inclusive information. And finally, reach out to us. If you're thinking about adding your local safety information to HazAdapt and upgrading and changing into or making your community and helping your community become more prepared, we want to support. We are here for that, and we're here for whatever 2025 holds as we're all navigating this new disaster era. We want you to know that we're here for you, and we're here to support you and your community. So your engagement today shows your commitment to empower your community, and we're here to partner every step of the way. So now let's dive into your questions. Thank you so much for joining. You can add them in your chat. Any have come up. One question that we get all the time is, how many hazards are there, and why did you choose the hazards you did in HazAdapt? And first, we focused on the 31 most common 911 calls, and then the hazards that people are most likely to receive an emergency alert about, and then the day-to-day emergencies. So right now we are at 52 natural and human-made hazards, or actually 53 as of last night. So please do go check them out. What other questions or what stuck out to you? What would you like more clarification on? Cassidy, I see your question. Can you speak to your experience with low-tech users 65 plus? Yes, absolutely. So this is a population that, has different varying experiences of technology use. But what we've seen is that they're looking for something that is very straightforward and helps them navigate, accessing different hazard guides. We all have amazing, grandmothers and grandparents around us that we test with them. We offer this to them and get their feedback on how easy was this to use. And what's great is we're able to hand the app to them and say, all right, can you, check it out? What do you think? They're navigating it without us having to instruct them how, which is excellent and essential. And, we have continued to make sure it works with screen readers. It works with bolding and different types of size and lettering, size adjustments that come with different phones. And we made sure that it is low vision or no vision accessible. So you'll notice there's not a ton of like high resolution images on HazAdapt. There's a lot of very simple graphic illustration. That's one of those design choices that we made to ensure low vision and no vision entities have access to see that there. But beyond just the design of it, resources. So you'll notice in many of our hazards, we have resources and information specific for older adults. Great question, Cassidy. Thank you. I'm curious, what stuck out to anyone here, in our presentation, or what other questions can we ask and answer? Have we worked with transit organizations? Well, yes, and we have partnered. So we partner with ODOT to offer our resources to them. We are also looking at different rest stop options to have HazAdapt available. HazAdapt QR code scannable there. Oregon is a huge tourist destination, and a lot of people head out into the outdoors. So how are we helping them get connected with an offline accessible tool? ODOT has been a great partner at that, and we're going to continue to develop that partnership. But we're also looking at like port authorities, different cruise lines and airports, right? How are they helping people have access to that resource? So definitely more to come there. Yeah, thank you. Could also see it on the side of a bus. That'd be really awesome. So as y'all are thinking of questions, I'm also happy to share a couple of the trends that we thought were incredibly insightful and I think can also be of use to you. Um, beyond just sending an alert and seeing people access that specific hazard guide, we see a curiosity trend where they're, checking out different hazards based on what's relevant to them or what spikes their interest. And often we see people go towards those social hazards, active shooter, hate crimes, sexual assault, and that especially happens around holidays. So we saw it with Oregon State spring break. During that time frame, we saw a spike in sexual assault and STIs, and that's not just at Oregon State. We saw that spike. That's all over HazAdapt, but we definitely saw that more relevant towards different college university campuses. And I know that's not a hazard that emergency managers normally handle, but you're in connection with your public health teams and being able to show them, hey, we're seeing a spike here, or 4 days after Valentine's Day, we saw a pretty large spike of STI hazard guide, access, which is insight to, okay, we're seeing our population deal with post-holiday concerns. So really cool to see how communities are accessing that information and sharing that as well. Yeah, it's been really awesome to see these different interactions. And I know we are coming close to time. We are so excited to hear more from you. We are excited to interact and engage with you. Please send us a message if any other questions come up, or if you'd like to talk more about getting your local safety information into HazAdapt, or have an idea of how we can better serve your community. Don't hesitate to reach out. We're excited to work with you. Thank you so much for joining us today.